Hey everyone, my name's Shahid and I thought I'd make this video on the Learn to Play for Kingdoms Forlorn, just to try and make it a bit easier for newcomers. This is the first time for me recording anything like this, so hopefully it works and hopefully it makes it easier for everyone. But let's get started, shall we? Right, so this is just skip over the introduction. But here we go. So the player setup component. So if I just move this to the right, you can see that I've kind of got everything ready, but we'll go through and just double check, shall we? So you've got the starting portrait for Flash Shredder, and that would be this guy here. So you can kind of see there, it's not going to show up too well, but you can kind of see there that this is the starting portrait here. And it's for Flash Shredder, the Butcher Knight. All right, next on the list is the talent. So that's this guy over here. And you can see here they've tried to make it easy with starting talents there. And then we have the starting heroic and parallax over here. So just pop that into the heroic arc section over here of our player board, and the parallax section goes into the peril section there. And then here are the starting cards. I know they're the starting cards because it's got start written up here. Now the thing to note with this one, and it kind of doesn't tell you here, but he actually gets 5 cards to start with. But if we look at our starting portrait, just here, he can only hold 4 in his hand. So that is why we've only got 4 cards listed here. So let's find and make sure we've got those ones. We've got Night Roll there, Night Pose there, Cursed Cured Darkland there, and we have Food Runner as well. So the Learn to Play has opted not to put the second chance card in his hand, so I'll pop that to the side. All right, and then we've got the knives gear that I've gotten here. So that's this one here. So this card, if you're struggling to find it, you will have sorted it into your other section of the small mini cards that you've opened up by now. So that's again, it's in the other section. I really struggled to find this on my first play. It took me about 10 minutes to realize that where it was. And then we've got the flash tokens here. So that's these guys. All right, and I'll pop it there. And the night sheet. The night sheet I popped to the side. We don't really need that at the moment. So this is my bad. I thought we got the starting items as well from his night book, which I'll grab quickly. It's been a while since I played this, but I thought we started with the chipped axe merchant. Can't quite see it, but I thought we started with the chipped axe merchant item, but it looks like an alert to play we don't, and I forgot about that. So I'll get rid of those, and Kara has some as well, so I'll get rid of that as well. Okay, so I don't really need to go through the same thing, but with Kara down here, I've also got her stuff. So we've got her wilding portrait, we've got her wilding talent, and her heroic arc and peril arc over here. And then we've also got her cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she gets all 5 of these. So we've got Night Pose, Night Roll, Sprinting Charge, and Like the Wind. And then again, we've got her knives item there as well. Put that all there. So when you're setting up your players, If you look at your peril arc, you can see that their HP is listed on the left, and as you go down in your HP, your heat limit actually rises. So at the very top, we can see that her starting health is 10. So what we'll need to do is move our black cube over here. We'll move it to 11, and then we'll give her 10 health. And then also we can see that while she's at 10 health, her heat limit is 3. So we'll move our black cube over here to 4 and give her a heat limit of 3. And then we'll do the same here for Flash Ritter. So his starting health is 11. 11 health, and his limit is 3. So we'll pop that there for him. And now we also need to grab squires. Our squires. We have Bianca and Ralof. So I don't have their cards on me. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. For some reason, I thought the starting squires were different. So I had to go grab their standees and their squire cards. So here we've got Bianca and we've got Ralof over here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop those over here just like that. Oh, first of all, let me show you that these guys have a heat limit of 2 and their vigor is 10. And it's the same for Bianca as well. So we'll do the same thing over here. We'll move our vigor track up to their limit and give them 3 heat. Sorry, heat limit of 3. Okay, now that's all done. These are their little standees. There. All right. Okay, so we also need the 18 metal deck cards. So I've got those over here. So I've just got this little 3D printed holder for my metal deck. But what we want to have here for the tutorial is all of the cards which say start at the bottom. So you got all of those cards there. Okay, then you're going to give these a good shuffle. And pop that to the side. Right, and we need four clue cards and clue tokens. So my clue cards are over here. So these are your clue cards. And basically what they mean is if you're on an investigation, you'll need 3 of these marshal clues as well as 3 of the clues of the person on your right. So what that means is if I was playing this knight and someone else on my right hand side was playing this knight, I would need 3 marshal clues as well as 3 of the book clues, I've forgotten their name, to complete my investigation. Okay, so I've got that. We'll pop it to the side until we're told what to do with it. And then it also wants a negative AT token, which is this guy here. So we'll leave that to the side until we're told what to do with it. Alright, so step 1. Kingdoms Forlorn is played in a series of expeditions, with each expedition representing 1 adventure, 1 delve into the deep fog, and the kingdoms within. Each expedition consists of a series of steps resolved in order. In this Learn to Play adventure, you'll follow a simplified expedition sequence consisting of the vision phase, where you choose a quest and the party leader, read the opening story paragraph, and prepare a kingdom for the upcoming expedition. Then we'll proceed to the Outpost phase, where you make all preparations, the Delve phase, where we do the actual delving and try and fulfill the quest objectives, and the Clash phase, and then the Spoils phase. All right, so in the Vision phase, every expedition starts with the Vision phase. Oh God. Every expedition starts with the vision phase. This is where you decide what to do and where to go during each expedition, as well as decide who will lead the expedition. And this is also where you set up the kingdom that you'll be delving into. In Kingdoms Forlorn, each knight has their own personal storyline consisting of 5 chapters, which they can develop by fulfilling quests. However, only one knight in the party, henceforth called the party leader, can be on a quest at a time, so you'll need to cooperate. While one knight is on a quest, the rest of the party performs investigations, smaller stories related to their own quest lines, which are also required to proceed along a storyline. During those quests, you'll often be instructed which kingdom to visit and what your starting tile is, while at other times you will be able to choose a kingdom and then randomly select a starting tile. So skip over that. So in the party leader for the Learn to Play, they've decided for us that it's going to be Flash Shredder. Okay, and then we'll proceed to the story. A small tale of heroism. Sir Knight, please, Sir Knight. The lumbering figure presses through the crowd, heedless of the much shorter figure trying to catch his attention. Across his shoulders, a hefty brace of rabbits bound for the pot. Please, a child's life is in the balance. At this, the tall fellow's companion, a slight woman with a cascade of flame-colored hair, grabs his shoulder, bringing him to a halt. The duo, the knights known as Kara and the Flash Ritter, turn to face the panting, red-faced lad. Take a breath and tell us what happened. Kara, the one who flaunts herself as a wilder knight, reassures him. Beside her, the hulking Flash Ritter, the butcher knight, grunts impatiently. I'm sorry, kind sirs, the boy gasps, but the Gardle paid me no heed, and we've no money for mercenaries. You think we work for free? The Flash Ritter growls. Go easy on him, butcher, Kara chides. She nods again. Tell us what happened. We don't have all day. My sister, they've just taken her, just off the poor knight's road to Hochenheim. Cultists, all clad in red, chanting profane words from the Apocrypha. They mean to sacrifice her to the devils, I know it. The 2 knights share a glance. It's not the first time they've heard such a tale, nor will it be the last. But in times such as these, who else could the people turn to for aid? Who else could venture beyond the deep fog and have a hope of bringing the lass back alive? Below each narrative paragraph opening a quest, you will find a series of gameplay instructions that will help you set up a kingdom and its denizens. We will include these instructions here, so don't fret, we'll walk through each one of them. So here we're told how to proceed with the quest. We're going to go into the Principality of Stone, and our starting tile is S13. And so what this means is we need to grab all of our tiles, map tiles, and here's the pile I prepared earlier. So we've got all of our small tiles here, all of our medium tiles, all of our large tiles, and all of our extra large tiles here. And so I've got this little 3D printed holder thing where I just pop them all in there. Like that, and we are told that we are starting in S13. So let's grab S13, flip it over, orientate it, and then when we're placing our first tile, what we need to do is flip it so that it's revealed because we don't play anything on this. And then we need to also fish out the tiles that are adjacent. So here, you can't really see it. glare is getting a bit to it, but we've got small 9 ahead on top, we've got small 12 on the left, and we've got large 3 on the bottom. So what we do then is we grab these tiles, and place them like that. And just for reference, just in case you haven't noticed yet, but so this here we've got a large 3, and I know that because of the symbol here. So that symbol is also here as well. So that's how I know it's a large 3 tile that needs to go there and not any other kind of a tile. Right, and then for this expedition, Kara's exploration cipher is 9 and Flash Ritter's is 0. Flash Ritter is the party leader. Proceed with the vision phase. At the end of the outpost phase, C0001. And so here we're told to note these 2 ciphers onto our night sheets, but you don't really need to do that because they include all the story bits here in the Learn to Play anyway. Okay. I think we can kind of skip these boxes here. You can read that on your own time. There's nothing here really, it's just telling you how the story progresses through various quests. And then here we've got a little blurb of what the kingdoms actually are, and these are just the different knights, but our knights are chosen for us in the Learn to Play. Okay, so player setup. Let's start from the very beginning and prepare your players' characters first. In the full game, you'll be able to choose whichever knights and squires, but in this we're given knights. And so yeah, we'll go to the next page here. So knights use a full knight board made of 2 joined together cardboard pieces. So you've got left hand side and the right hand side. That's what it's pointing out here. We've got our talent arcs, the talents here, heroic arcs here, and the peril arcs, which I've already gone through. We also need to note down our virtues on our night sheet, but I couldn't really be bothered using the night sheet at the moment because everything is already in the Learn to Play, and we'll get rid of it for next time anyway. So note down the virtues if you want to. You definitely need to do this as part of setting up for an actual campaign though, and all of these virtues are listed in the initial pages of the night book. So let me just grab one and show you what I mean. So when you're actually setting up for a campaign, you'll be following these instructions here at the beginning of the night book. And you can see here that the starting virtues are listed here and the starting exploration ciphers are listed there as well. So those are the bits that you'll actually be using when you're playing the game. But for now, we'll just take it as we've written it somewhere and we'll continue on. So to set up our knights, we kind of go through the process, which I already did to start. But basically, we're grabbing our talent cards, which we've already done. We're setting up our heat limits based on our peril arc, and we're setting up our maximum HP based on our peril arc as well. Okay, so let me just explain that again. So we've got our maximum HP is written over here. We have maximum HP of 11, and that corresponds with a heat limit of 3. So what I've done there what that means is I've put the black cube at 12 to note that our maximum HP is 11, and then over here with the heat meter over here, I've put a black cube at 4 to note that we can only ever go up to 3 heat while we are uninjured. And that will change as we play the game and lose health, no doubt. Um, and then we're also told to grab the knives item here and pop it next to our player board, so they've equipped that item. Okay, so over here it's just going to go through, sorry, on this side we're just going to go through our knight statistics. So basically, as you're playing the game, you've got how passionate a knight is, and that's represented by the uh, left-hand track over here. You've got your heat over here, which is represented by your the right track, and then you've got your vigor level in the middle. And basically the idea of passion is that every attack that you do, your knight becomes more and more passionate, and they become more and more powerful. Um, Meanwhile, when they're using techniques to perform attacks or to perform any kind of special ability, they're using heat, which I like to think of in terms of stamina. So as they generate more and more heat, they're kind of, overexerting themselves. And so the more heat you generate, the more chance of, uh, I guess, like if you start going over your heat limit, you start losing vigor. If you go to certain thresholds, like when monsters attack you, there's a very good chance you'll lose more health as a result of being at high heats. So you've got this kind of push and pull, which is a great feeling when you're battling somebody. And then vigor just works as like hit points. So that's fairly straightforward. The only thing to remember then is, if we just grab our peril arc, is as we start losing health, we start going into different levels um, of peril, I guess you could say. So if we are at 10 to 7 health with Flash Ritter, he's at the minor level, and his heat limit rises as a result. If we make it down to 3 to 1 health, his heat limit is then 5. So he gets more kind of, the idea is he's closer to death, and he's not caring as much if he overexerts himself, and he's trying to stay alive basically. All right. So this is going through your Knight Portrait card, which I kind of already did, but let me grab it and we'll go through it separately. Okay, so you've got your Knight Portrait card here. So you've got a nice picture of Flash Ritter, and then starting from the left, we'll go left to right. On the left-hand side here, we've got one cooldown refresh. So basically, at the start of every turn during a clash, Flash Ritter can pull one card from his cooldown back into his hand. So as you use techniques, it's not a case of you use it and then next turn you'll get to use that card again. There is a limited amount, and we'll go into that a bit later. But just for now, just have in the back of your mind that he gets to pick up one card from the start of every refresh phase. Over here, we've got how much heat he kind of refreshes every turn at the start of every turn. So here, what happens is, if I've got my first turn and I've gone and done stuff which uses 3 heat, so we use heat for a bunch of different things, which we'll go through later. But what that means is in his refresh step at the beginning of his turn, he gets to lose 3 heat straight away, which is really good. And then over here, we've got his hand limit. So he can only ever have 4 technique cards in his hand at any one time. And then over here, we've got 4 speed. So he can move 4 spaces during the clash, which we'll get to later. And then we've got his Bane limit of 4. So he can only ever have a Bane. He can only ever have 4 Bane tokens, and after that he will die straight away. It's not really as relevant to the start of the game, and it comes more into play as you go through tiers. So King and Devil tier, it becomes more important. And then you've got his Knight power die here, which we'll get to a bit later as well. And then now, if we look at his player cards, so now I'm just going to explain what this bit down here means. So with your technique cards, you have two different sides. So there are different abilities on this side compared to this side. So on this side, you've got the C, which stands for Clash side. And then on this side, you've got the D, which stands for Delve side. And so what that means is there's two main playable phases in an expedition. You've got the Delve phase and you've got the Clash phase. So during the Delve phase, you're only able to use this side of the cards. And during the Clash phase, you can use this side. And so with Flash Ritter, you can see he's got Chef's Intuition, he's got Hearty Stew, Night Prowess, and Pickled Rations. So with Pickled Rations, at the start of the Delve round, gain one threat to place one of these Flash tokens on your night board, and then basically once they're on his night board, he gets to use them for different things a little bit later. So here, for instance, during a clash, he can use two flash tokens to regain some health. So that's how that one works. With the delve phase, with the delve kind of side of the techniques, what happens is you always have to pay the cost that is gated here. And so in this situation, it would be the cost of one heat. In this one, it'd be the cost of two heat. Over here, it depends on how many flash tokens we have. Over here, it's two heat. But basically, if you can cover the cost of that, that means you can play the card and get the effect. They are gated effects as well. So on this card here, if we play this card for one heat and gain one threat, if we're at King tier, we get two tokens, two of the flash tokens. If we're at Devil tier, we get three of the flash tokens. So you only get one of the results, but it depends on what tier you're at. So as a basic card, he would only get one flash token. And then at the bottom here, we've got the cooldown symbol. So not the cooldown symbol, but how do we exhaust this card after we play it? In this situation, we're going to place it in our delay section. So what we would do is if we were to play this card, we'd pop it over in our delay pile over here. So the symbol, you'll note that the symbol over here is the same. The symbol over here under delay is the same as the one that's on the bottom. So if we were to play this card, we'd pop it there. And then what happens is at the start of his turn in a clash phase, this would then move down to the cooldown section. And then at the start of the next turn, we'd be able to pick that one up because he's got one cooldown refresh. Okay. Oh, and the other thing to note as well is if we do play these cards on the Delve side, this is a different one. This is Night Prowess. This is the kind of how we have to exhaust it. So in this situation, if we were to play this card, it would go into the cooldown. So it'll go down here. So if we were to play that, we would have to pay the two heat cost, and then we would also get this opening token. So that's this symbol here. That symbol would actually go into our night pool, and it would help us out in the clash. So always keep this in mind because all of these, you want to be able to use your delve cards because they give you bonuses during the first turn of your clash round, which are come in handy a lot of the time. So that's that. Next page. So the Squires, a simplified automated system, and they tend to make life a little bit easier. They basically follow the same rules as knights in most situations, except they never roll a die. They always use the metal deck. So they're always use these cards. So if I were to draw one of these cards, what this shows is the roll. So if I were to draw one of these cards, if it says each knight must roll and get a value of 8 or higher or whatever, this squire in this case, when I drew this metal card, has only rolled 6. So he would fail that test. When we go into the clash, we'll talk more about these other things. But yeah, basically anything that requires a roll, we'll use that number. Okay, so each quest, each expedition involves some sort of use of the clue cards. Most of the time, the person who is, well, all of the time basically, the person who is on a quest, so the party leader who's doing an actual quest, they will not get one of these clue cards. But in this situation, for the Learn to Play, they've asked that everyone gets a clue card. So we're going to give Kara this card, and it goes there. We're going to give Flash Ritter this card there. And then Ryloth gets this card. And Bianca gets that card. So my order is a little bit different to how they've kind of placed their knights and squires, but we'll follow what they've done here. So you remember how I said that the clue card over here. So in this situation, the marshal clue over here for Kara to finish her investigation, she needs the 3 marshal clues as well as 3 clues of the person on her right. In this case, the person on her right is Ralof, and they've got the blue clues. So what we're going to do is whenever you're starting an investigation, everyone who has a clue card, so anyone who's on an investigation, all of the squires, they always get a clue card like this. So their secondary clue is what they call this section of the clue card, and this is the primary clue. So everyone on an investigation gets one of their secondary clues. And in this case, what that means is everyone on an Kara gets one of the blue clues. So let me grab one of those. And we'll pop it on her board like that. And then Ryloth gets one of the green clues. Pop it on his board like that. Bianca gets one of the books. That. And that means Flash gets one of these guys. So again, it's worth reiterating that the Learn to Play, everyone is getting one of these clue cards, but if this were an actual expedition, the person on the night, on the quest, so in this case, Flash Ritter, if he's the party leader and he's doing a quest, he wouldn't be getting one of these cards. He wouldn't be getting one of those cards, and what that would mean is that somebody else would be, so somebody else would be in the kind of circle of knights and squires for Kara to give her secondary clue to. So it wouldn't be one of those. Not sure if that makes sense, but basically the idea is that everyone who has a clue card is a circle, and you kind of go around in that circle, and anyone who's needs a secondary clue will refer to the person who's on the right of their circle. Right, next page. So kingdom and monster setup. So here what we're going to do is we're going to grab our kingdom sheet, which is this guy, and we're going to place it over here, which you can't really see. Let me move that. Going to place that there, and then we're also going to place our time, a little black cube in the 0 of our time track, a little black cube in the 0 of our threat track, and a little black cube here in the 0 section of our curse track. And so there's a few little bits and pieces here that we can go through on the kingdom sheet. On the left hand side, so we're going down over here, we've got our points of interest. So basically what that means is whenever we see this little symbol, on a map card, so on a map card, so on one of these guys, we'll see this kind of symbol. If there's a number written next to it, then that number refers to whichever one of corresponds whichever one over here that it would be. So if it had this symbol plus a 7, that means that we would resolve this guard statue adventure. Not adventure, sorry, guard statue point of interest. If it had this symbol and it had the actual words written, we would then resolve that as well, instead of resolving whichever number it was. So it does change it up a little bit. And then these symbols over here, they all correspond to the different districts in the Principality of Stone. So we've got the Crown or the Royal District, the Craftsman, the Docks, oh, they're written over here, Noble District, the Merchant District, the Port District, and the Craftsman District. And then what we're being told to do is to place monsters here. So if we were to start a real expedition, what you would do is we would grab our Principality of Stone Codex, which is very far away for me at the moment. Okay, so if we were to start a new expedition, what we would do is we would grab our book like this, and let me just get this night sheet out. So this is a night sheet for Sir Uber. It's just the only one that I had in my book. Oh, sorry, in my box and on hand. And so what we would do is we would line up our pages like this. We would grab our night ruler, but unfortunately, our night bookmark, but unfortunately I don't have one on me at the moment. So instead I'll use this book, and we will refer to the lowest marked X. And so the basic idea is with this is when we're setting up an expedition, if Sir Uber were to go on another investigation, he would mark the second investigation box over here. So he'd pop a little X over here. Do I have a pencil? I do. So he'd pop an X over here. So we're starting an expedition, he's on an investigation, and we're going into the Principality of Stone because I've got the Principality booklet here. And we would line up our bookmark with, yep, so we'd line it up here. Sorry, this is a lot harder to do when you're looking at a computer screen and not at the physical object. And so now we've got these monsters to choose from who will be going on our expedition with us, unfortunately. So you've got rat wolves, you've got pale blood worms, pumpkin monstrosities, ironcast dead, and the egg knight, as well as Knight of the Fen. And so if this were a real expedition, I would grab all of their monster cards and counter cards, sorry, So we've got the rat wolves, we've got pumpkinhead monstrosities, pale blood worms, ignite, Knight of the Fen. So these are all of our monsters that will be going to the have a chance of going into the expeditions. And so because we have 4 districts here to fill, we need to pull out 4 of these cards. So you'd give them a good shuffle. And you would just choose 4 of them like that. And so the rat wolves get left behind. And on our expedition into if in this fake expedition, we'd be going with the pale blood worms, pumpkin monstrosities, and egg knight and Knight of the Fen, and then I'd get their tokens, their monster tokens, and pop them. It doesn't really matter which order you start with, just randomly into these little areas here, and that's how you kind of go on an expedition. You're starting an expedition, sorry, and you'll note here as we go down in our investigations and our quests that we start getting level 2 monsters. So the next investigation, we would have Sir Ubar get a level 2 rat wolf if you were to do that. And okay, this is also a good thing to note. With this character, I think I did one expedition with a friend. He has done 1 investigation, and let's get rid of this because not actually an investigation we've been on. Didn't really erase very well, but anyway, hopefully I remember. So in this situation, he's already done 1 investigation. If he were to start his quest, he would mark this box over here. And then when we're preparing an expedition and we're choosing our monsters, we actually prepare it according to the lowest marked boxes. So in this case, the lowest marked box, even if I were to put an X in the quest box, the lowest marked box is actually going to be the investigation one. So he would be preparing fights against the second row, just as we did now. So that's even though he would be starting a quest. So keep that in mind. It's always based on the lowest mark box here. Okay, let me get rid of all this. And let's do what I was actually supposed to do for the learn to play. And that is to get out the rat wolves, pumpkinhead monstrosities, ironcast dead, and the egg knight. So luckily we've got most of them out. We've got the pumpkinhead monstrosities, we've got an egg knight. Oh, I don't think I was shuffling Ironcast Dead in there. I should have been shuffling Ironcast Dead when I was doing that example. And we've got the rat wolves over here. All right, so these are the encounter cards. We don't really need these at the moment, and unfortunately they weren't even included in the learn to play. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to do a mock encounter as part of this video before we get to the actual clash, just so that people have an idea of how to do these when when you get to it, but we'll pop those to the side for now, and we will grab the monster tokens. So this is the 3D printed token trays that I've been using. Unfortunately, I haven't got them in any semblance of order at the moment, so let me find. All right, so we found our monster tokens, and they want us to put Ironcast Dead here, Rat Wolves up here, Pumpkinhead Monstrosities there, and the Egg Knight there. Right, so let's go to the next page. And this is basically telling you how to set up. So we need the party marker, which is I'm not sure if you heard that because I got the noise cancelling on, but I pretty much just dropped all the minis on the ground in search of this guy, the party marker. So this is the mini that you use to kind of show where you are as you're traversing the expedition, the delve. I don't tend to use this one too much. I just pop one of the player characters on. But the downside, of course, with popping the player character on is you do also need to use them for encounters on the encounter board. So that becomes an issue. But I haven't had any. I've just usually use a generic token in that case. But anyway, here's the party marker. So we'll pop him there on our starting tile. And so we've got our map stuff already sorted over here in my little map tray. We've got our medal deck already sorted, which I believe is one of these piles. We should do it all in order, actually. Okay, so the Kingdom track number 2, that's this guy over here. The Clash and Encounter board I don't have on my table because it's too small at the moment. I'll grab it when I need to. The minor Mortis cards are here. Got the major Mortis cards here as well, and we've got our Grave Mortis card, and we've got our Judicium deck there as well. So the thing with the minor Mortis cards is they actually have they vary. They've also got a couple of important items on there. So for the delve phase, we're mostly interested in whenever we draw from a minor Mortis deck, we're interested in the arrow at the bottom here. And for the clash phase, we're interested in the actual text most of the time anyway. The thing to note though is that there are kingdom specific cards that need to be put into this deck, into all of the Mortis decks. And so you'll note those by where they say Principality of Stone. So in this case, I've got a Grave Mortis card here in my hand, and that needs to go into the Mortis deck if we're using the Principality of Stone as our kingdom. So I've already got them on the side over here, so I'll quickly sort them in. So I've got my minor Mortis ones here, so Principality of Stone, and I'll pop it into the deck and give it a good shuffle. And then I'll pop that on the side. And again, we've got our major mortis cards, and then I've got my Principality of Stone ones. So let me pop that in the deck. Give it a good shuffle. And then we've got our Grave Mortis and Principality of Stone cards. Let me pop those in. Let's give those a shuffle. Pop that in my little holder thing. And then we've got the Judicium. So with the Judicium cards, there are a lot of them. You'll note that there is quite a few. So I was just grabbing these guys. So the basic principle is whenever we fall to 0 vigor, we perform a Judicium draw. And what that starts off as being is it's a 50-50 chance as to whether you live or you die as a result of falling to 0 vigor. If I drew the live card, that means that whoever it is that drew that card, whichever knight or squire, that means they get to potentially live through another turn. If I drew the died card, they are removed from the board and they are dead for the rest of the expedition, unless they are told somehow to gain back all of their vigor, which often happens at the end of a clash. So to start with, you only need the you live and the you died cards. If for some reason characters start, if you were to lose your vigor but then lose a vigor in such a way that you've lost an immense amount, so if you were to get attacked and suffer a -10 vigor hit or something and you end up in on -10 vigor, then we are told to add in a few more dying cards into our Judicium deck. And what that means is we suddenly go from a 50-50 chance to a 1 in 3 chance, or 1 in 4 chance, or 1 in 5, or somehow a 1 in 6. So I don't know if anyone would ever make it to having 5 of these cards in here, but you know it's a possibility. But to begin with, we only have 2. So we'll give those a shuffle. I've also seen Bant from Meet Me at the Table. What he'll do is he'll pop both of these here on the ground and then do a dice roll. So 1 to 5 result on the die will give him that result, and a 6 to 10 will give him the you died result. So that's also something you can do if you don't want to shuffle. Okay, so next we've got the encounter tokens. So 5, which is these guys, which we've already placed. And then the clue tokens as well, which I've got here in my 3D printed thing over here. So I'm going to put that on the side because I need as much of the table as possible. And then we are also told to pick up a warrior mercenary card. So that is here. And what happens is when you start on an expedition, you pay during the outpost phase. You can purchase mercenaries to take with you on your expedition at a cost of whatever the cost is on the top left. So if you'll remember, as part of the Learn to Play, we were given 5 gold. I kind of glossed over it. I don't think I even mentioned it. So what the Learn to Play is doing is they're saying that we're using 2 gold and we bought a warrior mercenary. So mercenary cards have two sides to them. They've got a side A and a side B. During the clash, they will give a benefit over here, and during the delve, they'll give a separate benefit. And every time we resolve one of these effects, we need to flip the card. So if we resolve the delve effect, the resolution effect is, the delve effect is to reduce our vigor loss by up to 3. And to resolve this, we need to flip this card to the other side. And on the side B, if we were to use any of these effects again, we would need to discard this card, which you can see there. So we only basically get 2 uses out of a mercenary when we take them. I would very much recommend that you take a rogue mercenary with you if you don't have Sir Sonch on your first expedition. Sir Sonch and Little Sir. I would very much recommend you always keep a rogue mercenary on hand. Just, you'll find out. But here we go. So this is the warrior mercenary I'll place up here in the corner. We're also told to get some Panzergate tokens, which again I've got organized in this tray. So the Panzergate tokens are here. So you've got the gate token, which has 1 gate and 3 on the other side. And then you've got the key tokens, stone key tokens, which have 1 on both sides. All right, the next one is 1 stone key token. So I've already shown you what that is. And then the condition deck. So the condition deck, again, I got a bit carried away with my 3D printing. I printed this. It's basically all of the conditions that are separated out. So with the conditions, you don't need to keep them all together in the one kind of stack. You can separate them out, because basically the idea is whenever you get a condition, you grab that particular card and you keep that on hand. It's not as if you're drawing from a full deck of condition cards and you're getting one randomly. You will always be told which condition to get. So that's why I've kind of separated them out here and I keep them on the side. Okay, scavenge deck, which is made of loot cards. So what that basically means is we grab all of the cards which have loot written on the back of them. And then you'll see here that they're basically double ups of a few different cards. So you've got the consumable gear, you've got 4 of the upgrade cards, you've got 4 Kingdom Gear cards, you've got 2 Exhibition Clash and 2 Full Clash. So again, with these cards, there's no kind of randomness. There's no random draws of loot. So it doesn't really matter. You don't need to shuffle these guys. You just kind of grab the whole deck, and this deck of loot cards becomes our scavenge deck. And so whenever we're told as part of a resolution to scavenge 3 loot cards, or scavenge 3, then that means we go to our scavenge deck, we look for 3 cards which are of interest to us. So if we're ever told to scavenge X or scavenge a number of cards, we can only loot from the consumable, the upgrade, and the Kingdom Gear cards. We are not able to loot from the exhibition or the full clash cards until later on. So if we're ever told to scavenge 3, I could take 2 consumables and I could take 1 upgrade card. And then this becomes my loot for when at the end of an expedition I can convert these into an upgrade, a consumable, depending on how the spoils work out to be. I could convert these into either the upgrade or I could convert it into the tier of gold, which I'm allowed. So as mob tier, I would get 2 gold if I were to convert this into gold. If I was in dragon tier, I would get 6 gold. But we'll go into that at the end when we're closer to the actual spoils, because some things change it up. So this is our scavenge deck. We'll pop that to the side. Kingdom tile decks are next. So that's these map tiles. And then we've got 3 transparent acrylic cubes. I use the black cubes for some reason. I don't know why, but we do. And then we want these exploration cards. So with the exploration deck, I've got that down here. So with the exploration deck, we're going into the Principality of Stone, so we'll grab the Principality exploration cards. And if this were an actual expedition, what I would do is I'd grab my entire exploration deck and I would take out these cards, Special Exploration. You're only allowed to get these special exploration cards if you pay for them as part of the Outpost phase. So you'll see that in the Principality Codex. So for the moment, well, if in my pretend expedition that I'm going on, I would take those out. I'd grab all of these exploration cards. I'd give them a good shuffle. Like that. And that would be my exploration deck. For the learn to play, we are being told which ones to take. So we want to get the Rat Wolves card. The Rat Wolves card. We want to get the Panzer Pit card. Panzer Pit. We want to get Marching to the Silent Drum. And Panzer Gate. That one there. And then we'll pop the rest to the side. So I usually pop all of my exploration cards into another 3D printed thing, which is completely unnecessary, but for some reason I can't help myself. And then I would kind of resolve the effect and pop it in the discard pile. But since we have so few exploration cards for the learn to play, I can get rid of that and save some table space. I'll pop that there. And then we've also got the Principality of Stone Codex, which I popped to the side. All right, so next we would place our acrylic markers on the kingdom track, which I've already done. So you've got put them all at 0. Transparent markers, apparently, for some reason, I thought I've always been using the black marker cubes, but I guess I should have been using the transparent ones. Hopefully no one gets angry at me for that. And then we're going to place our party marker on S13 in the middle. So that's what I've done here, placed it on S13 in the middle. Now it's telling us to stack the exploration deck with Rat Wolves on the top. So Rat Wolves will be on the top. Marching to the Silent Drum is next. Oh, sorry, Panzer Pit is next. Marching to the Silent Drum. And Panzergate. Wow, I had all of those in the right order all along. Okay. No, you know what? It's probably the order it told me to take it out. So I didn't do any kind of magic. My bad. All right. So in the outpost phase. So now we're going into the outpost phase. What we would do in the outpost phase is we would grab our Principality Codex. Yeah. We'd grab this guy. We would turn to the Outpost pages, and we'd be able to do all of these kind of things. So the party leader, I guess, would decide which one you get to do first, and whichever one you do first, you get this early bird bonus. So if I were to do the in action first, instead of rolling for an effect, I can choose an effect instead. So to do this, usually without the early bird, you'd grab a d10 and you'd roll it, and whichever number it ended up on, that's the effect you would do. And you only really get to do anything from this in action once. So it doesn't really say that you can only do it once, but it's a little bit silly to think that you can roll the d10 as many times as you want to do every action here before the start of an expedition. So you can only do it once. And then over here you've got the Mercenary Guild. So this is where you go to buy your mercenaries that I mentioned earlier. So if I were to go to the mercenary, then I can choose from all of the level 1 mercenary cards, and I could purchase any level 1 mercenary card, as many as I wanted, as long as I had the money for it. And I don't go over my hand limit of mercenaries, which is up to 4 mercenaries, so that's where it's written there. So I can only ever have 4 mercenaries at a time, unless I'm told otherwise explicitly. I could also go to the Scouts Guild and hire some scouts, so I think it's going to tell us what to do in the next page. Oh, it's telling us what to do here. So we are going to in the Learn to Play, we're going to go to the Scouts Guild section, and since we have 5 gold, let's hire some local urchins for 3 gold. These are the only scouts that are available at the mob tier. So we know that because of this section here, which you can't really see on my camera, but it's got mob here, local urchins. If I were to scout and I were to be at a king level, I have the option for all of these, but at the moment I only have the option for the local urchins. And if we go turn the page to the scouting, we can read what the local urchins give us. So in this case, if we were to pay 3 gold, we would place 1 additional kingdom tile on any path leading from the starting kingdom tile and treat it as unexplored, and mark it with a generic token as a reminder. And so what that basically means is we get to reveal 1 kingdom tile and place it. We get to reveal 1 of these kingdom tiles that we've placed here, and that basically helps us know what icons and what awaits us. So it's basically giving us an early idea of what we can expect on this tile. So we know whether it's worth visiting or if we can kind of avoid it if it's a bad tile. The only thing is, when we do that, we are placing a generic token on it. So generic token is one of these guys. So if we were to use that scouting action, we would reveal this tile like so. We would line it up and we would place a generic token. So that tells us, like, now we know what is on this tile, but we haven't yet explored it. And so what that means is we have to resolve the exploration step if we go there, and we also have to pay the cost for going to that tile as well. So it's just a reminder that while we have flipped it over, we haven't actually explored it. So let's go back to how that was for the moment. And then the next bit is it's telling us to go to the Mercenary Guild and to hire the warrior, which I've already done over here. Okay, and so what the Learn to Play is doing is we've use the scouts, and we're revealing L3. So let's reveal L3 like that. And you can see here I'm trying to line up the two, the pathing, so that the 3 connects this 3 map tile. This 3 map tile connects to small 13 via this path, like so. And then we are going to buy the warrior mercenary. And so since we're now out of money, let's start with the actual adventure. Yeah, so let's start with the actual delve and C0001, which they've helpfully included in the Learn to Play. So let's read this. The fog parts before the knights, releasing them from its clammy, frigid grasp. Ahead of them, the Principality of Stone. Eisenwald, it was once known. Now just a blighted ruin. The wind echoes through abandoned streets, releasing a low, mournful dirge that tells of the death of a once thriving nation. The knights lead their troop into the snow-choked streets of the city, heading for the location their scouts have identified, a place where red-robed figures were seen to be scurrying. The cultists, they seem to be congregating around the old Hansa Hall, once the fortress of the commercial powers in the Principality before its fall. If that is the cultist base of operation, then that is where the prisoner will be held. The expedition turns a corner in the cramped alleyways, almost to the heart of the merchants' district, when the ground beneath their feet trembles, a quake shivering through the earth, and the cracked cobble streets suddenly a terrible groan echoes through the air, and a wall of metal surges up ahead of the knights. A massive gate of rusting iron rises from the earth, blocking the way ahead. Its emergence feels almost vindictive, a personal insult. Kara steps forward, inspecting the iron for a weakness, but finds none. She does, however, find a large ornate lock. Too fancy to pick, too hefty to break, she mutters. We need to find a key. Where could we find one? The Flash Ritter asks. If anybody have the keys to the city, it'd be the Isengard. Kara muses. The map shows an old guard tower, somewhere to the northwest of here. We should start looking there. Below you'll find a new objective, one that has not been mentioned in the quest's opening paragraph. This is normal. New objectives can be introduced at any point during the expedition, and your original objectives may also change. Be on the lookout and use the night bookmark to mark the page with your current objective. So our new objective is to find a stone key to get past this gate. You can find one to the northwest. Once you find a stone key during the story step, C0002. Okay, and proceed to the delve phase. Okay, so the delve phase is where you finally cross the deep fog and enter one of the Kingdoms Forlorn to achieve your objective. The delve phase encompasses the entirety of the time played on the kingdom map, like traversal, monster encounters, adventures, and story interactions. Usually your expedition will compose of 2 delve phases broken up by a clash in the middle and rest phases, and then finished off with a full clash. You have a limited amount of time before you need to retreat to the safety of the border, so make it count. The delve phase is played in rounds, each corresponding to 1 hour on the time track. For a detailed breakdown, see the delve round sequence on page 14. Alright, so first things first, let's take a look at our map card that we have find ourselves on. And let me bring this up closer. So what the Learn to Play is telling us is that we can see that we have 3 paths from this map. So you've got a path to small 9, you've got a path to large 3, and a path to small 12 on the left. And then it's also telling us to take note of this Panzergate symbol, and that has basically been thematically, I suppose, explained to us as part of the story. But what we really want to do is we want to go down to Hansa Hall, which is where the cultists are. But unfortunately, what's happened is whenever we see whenever we see this symbol, that means a gate forms, and we can't go that way without unless we have a key. And that means we grab one of our Panzergate tokens and we pop it here to denote that we can't actually proceed that way. So before I do that, let me just tell you what the other icons are. So you've got this icon in the corner, which is very important. It tells you what district you're in. So in this situation, we are in this little district here, which is the merchant district. And so it's always worth looking at the cards around you because and the potential cards on which you haven't revealed, because that'll give you a sense of direction. So if your objective says you need to go to the port district, and I know that this one to the north is the merchant district, then I know I might not want to go that direction. I might want to go in a different direction towards the port instead. So, I might be better off going, east or west or south or something like that. And as you kind of, the more you explore, the more familiar you'll be with which direction, which district is in. And, you might be told to find an objective in small 14, tile small 14 or tile small 1 or something like that. And so it's worth always trying to figure out which district they're in to give you an idea of which direction to go. And then you've also got this symbol over here, which will be explained to us in a second in the Learn to Play. And then this one here, which isn't really explained in the Learn to Play, I don't think, but that is the symbol for how you get to the sub-kingdoms. And so the sub-kingdoms is a part of the expansion, the 10,000 Succulent Fears expansion. So if you interact with this symbol, you actually end up on tile 13 of the sub-kingdom. So you're kind of delving underground, which we will definitely not be doing in the Learn to Play. Oh, sorry, it is mentioned. Let's put that back there. Okay, so let's continue. As for the last symbol, symbol 3, which is the story cipher, which I said the Learn to Play would mention, this is the exploration cipher. And so what happens is you combine this with your night exploration cipher, which was given to us at the beginning of this quest. And then we read those sections of the Kingdom Codex. So as part of the Learn to Play, they've included that bit of the Codex here. So that's what these bits are. But first, I guess we can talk about hindering tokens. So hindering tokens are tokens like this, which basically hinder your movement through paths. You've got the Panzergate. You've got a triple Panzergate. So with a triple Panzergate, you need 3 keys instead of the 1 key. With the deep fog hindering, you actually have to do a fog travel, or you might want to say you have to fog it through this path in order to get to the other side or to get to another tile. You've got a rubble token, which will actually block that path pretty much permanently for that expedition. And then you've got flood tokens, which are in the sunken kingdom, so you don't really need to worry about that. Yeah, so let's move on to the story bit. So this is 3199, and this is the merging together 31 from our map tile and 99 from the Learn to Play story, which we were given at the beginning of before setting out. So 3199 reads, "The high-spirited wilder knight strides forward boldly, eager to chart fresh trails through the long-dead kingdom. She can't wait to bring news back to her father, Tavern. Tales bubble up in her mind as she gazes to the abandoned streetways of Eisenwald. Tales Tavern told of brave knights venturing where no other would dare, saving the needy and bringing hope to the people. Now she has a chance to be one of those heroes. She can't wait. So Kara gains 1 passion. So we note that by moving Kara's up there. We note that by moving her her passion track is this one on the left. So we know we gain 1 passion by moving it from 0 to 1, or from 1 to 2 if we're at 1. But in this case, we're going to 1. All right. And then the Flash Ritter. The Butcher Knight looks around at the empty streets, breathing deeply of the principality's dusty dead air. There's no scent of life here. No prey species, no predators, scarcely even any vermin or scavengers. The entire realm is still devoid of warm, living meat. The seasoned hunter grasps the hilt of his carving knife, knowing that there are things other than flesh and blood that could be prowling. Flash Ritter places 1 flash token on his night board. And so these are the flash tokens, so we're going to place 1 on his night board. And we'll go to the next page. So, step 13. The delve phase, the part of the game played on the kingdom map, is resolved in rounds, and these rounds consist of these steps. So the first step is we will travel. Second step is we'll do the kingdom tile resolution, and then we'll do the exploration step and then the story step. So with the travel step, that's how each round begins. And basically what we need to do is we need to move our player marker and choose which of these tiles we're going to travel to. So as part of the learn to play, we can't go down because the Panzer Gate has popped up and that's hindered our movement down. We could go left if we want to, or we could go north if we want to. As part of the learn to play, we are going to move, we're going to head north to S9, right? And so to head north, we have to pay the cost of heading north. And the costs are represented on the back. So we have to pay in 1 hour's worth of time, and we also have to pay in terms of gaining or losing threat. So in this situation, we would be losing threat and we would be gaining 1 time. So we move our time marker up 1, and we would move our threat marker down, but we are already at 0 threat. And then we can travel. So we flip the card. Always worth having a good look at what's on the card. The art is really good. And we will move our party marker. All right, and so that is me doing the kingdom step. Okay, and as part of our movement, we then get to pop out all of the paths that lead from our new tile. So in this situation, we've got a medium 7 to the right and a medium 6 to the left. So let me grab my cards. Medium 6 to the left. And a medium 7 to the right. Like that. And then now what we're going to do is we will go to the next step, which is the exploration step. So draw and resolve the top card from the exploration deck. So this is my exploration deck, which we've already stacked in a particular order, so we know what's coming. It is Rat Wolves. And on the Rat Wolf card, we've got Rat Wolves here. We've got our C symbol and the +2. So that's how we would kind of work out which kingdom tile effect to do. But if we look at our map tile, there's no C symbol on our map tile, so we don't have to worry about that. And then you've got what the card entails. So place this card in the active effects area. Then place a generic token on a random direction on the card. If you travel in the direction with a token on it, each knight will lose X amount of vigor, where X is 4 minus the number of tokens on this card. Then discard this card. At the start of every round, place another generic token on the next empty direction going clockwise. If there are 4 tokens on this card, discard it. And if we had a threat level of 6 or higher, then X, so the amount of health we would lose, is 6 minus the number of tokens on this card. So we would lose a lot of, we could potentially lose a lot of health as a result of this card. And then at the bottom here, we've got active effect, Principality of Stone. So that's telling us where to place this card. It will then get placed in the active effects section. This number down here, the 3, that you don't really have to worry about until you get into the sub-kingdoms. So in the sub-kingdoms, that's how you actually resolve your explorer, not your exploration, your yeah, it is how you resolve your it's how you resolve. It would be this bit. So that's how you, uh, yeah, don't have to worry about it until you reach the sub kingdom, and then that's when you kind of resolve that little bit of the kingdom tile step. So you don't have to worry about it for now. So let's place that there in the active effects section. And then during regular gameplay, we would now draw a minor mortis card and determine a random direction. But since this is scripted, we're going to, so what that means is how I mentioned it before, we would draw a minor mortis card, we would flip it, and we'd see that the random direction is left. And so in this situation, what we would do is we would pop the generic token on the left-hand side of this card. But for the purpose of this learn to play, it's been told that we are placing it on the right-hand side. So we're placing it there. Okay, sorry, it's just having a drink of water. Um, so it's telling us how to get rid of this card. One way to get rid of this card would be to immediately travel towards the generic token and lose a certain amount of health. So in this case, if we were to travel right, we would lose X minus the number of tokens, which is which is 4 minus the number of tokens. Is it 4? Yeah, 4 minus the number of tokens, so 4 minus 1 is 3. So if we were to travel right, we would lose 3 health straight away, but we would get rid of this exploration card straight away, which, you know, it could be a good thing to do, could be a bad thing. It's up to you when you play the game. But as part of the learn to play, I think we are going to be running away. And it's just explaining the gated effect, which I've already done. Okay. Okay, and this is an important thing to know. So there's different types of exploration cards. You've got ones which say active effect, and then you've got ones which say district effect. And so with an active effect, you pop them in the active effect section, and they are always active no matter how you're traveling on the kingdom map. If it were to say a district effect, so if instead of active it said district effect, you'd place it in the appropriate district that corresponds with where your party marker is currently. So in this situation, if this was a district effect, I would place it down here in the merchant district area. And so that means that this card would only have applied whenever I'm moving while in the whenever I'm moving to a tile with the merchant that's in the merchant district. But in this case, it's an active effect, so we pop it over there. If I were to draw another card from my exploration deck and it had that it was an active effect, so let me just grab one. Okay, so if I were to grab this card, trying to I keep the spoilers away for you. If I were to grab this card, it said active effect. Because I already have a current active effect, I can't actually place this down. And that means that this exploration card actually gets discarded straight away, and I don't get to resolve anything on it. And then here's an example of another one where we've got instant effect. So this one just occurs straight away and it doesn't get placed, it just happens. And then this is an example of a district effect. So if this district effect card were drawn, I'd have to pop it down here and it would always be a part of where I am at the moment. Oh, and with the gated effects, it's also worth mentioning that you you resolve the card from the top down. So this gated effect is at the bottom, which means it would resolve after you do the initial steps. In this particular card situation, it doesn't really matter. So let me just grab another card just to show you what I mean. Okay, so this is a little bit of a spoiler, so look away if you don't want to be spoiled in anything, but we're just trying to explain something to you. So with this guy, we've got Rust Cometh, and here we resolve X single Panzergate tokens from any one district where X is your curse. We're removing X single Panzergate tokens from any one district where X is your current curse level. Then each knight loses X vigor. If this effect didn't trigger, gain 1 curse. And then we've also got a gated effect down here, draw and resolve another exploration card. So in this situation, what actually happens if my if my threat level was 7 plus, I would have to resolve this top paragraph, and then also I would also have to resolve this gated effect. So I'd have to draw another exploration card, and I'd have to resolve that card as well. So this is almost like a 2 for the price of 1 draw situation, and it's a horrible thing to happen because I would probably lose a lot of health and have to, I'd have to do another exploration card draw. So scary card. Glad it's not included in the Learn to Play. Okay, right. So that's it for this kind of delve step. We've done our exploration step now, and we're moving on to the story step, but there's nothing here to trigger any kind of story information. So there's no story ciphers on this map tile. There's no, I haven't reached any kind of an objective, so I know that my current objective is to find a stone key, and when I do, I have to read a particular passage. Nothing happens in our story step. So we then move to do the round sequence again, and we travel to another map tile. Okay, so start of round. So delve round 2, start of the round. So at the start of the delve round effect, the Ratwolves card triggers. So we've placed our generic token on the right earlier and place another generic token in a clockwise direction. So place it south, it's clockwise. And so now, thanks to the hint we got at the start of the expedition, we know that we should head northwest. But let's make sure that we're on the right track. So what they're showing us now is we're going to use our delve, Kara's going to use her delve technique, Outrider Reconnaissance. So let's grab her cards. So these are Kara's cards. We're going to flip them over to the delve side, and we've got Outrider Reconnaissance here. So what this card will do is, before the travel step, reveal a connected kingdom tile and mark it with a generic token as unexplored. So that goes back to what I was talking to you about in the scout section when we were preparing in our outpost phase. So what this card gets us is Kara gets to flip one of these cards. We can look at it, we can see what's on the face of the card, but we technically haven't traveled there, so we need to mark it with a generic token. Okay, and so the Learn to Play wants us to play this card. So as I mentioned before, to play this card, we need to pay 1 heat. So we will raise Kara's heat value by 1. So it's gone from 0 to 1. We will trigger it before the travel step, reveal a connected kingdom tile and mark it with a generic token. So we're heading northwest, so I'm assuming they want us to look at this card. Yeah, M6, yep. And we're going to place it so that it lines up with our path again, like so. We're going to grab another generic token to mark it as unexplored. And then we're going to place our technique in the appropriate cooldown. And also, we're not going to forget that we also gain this warm-up effect. So on the Delve side, we gain a warm-up effect. On the Clash side, we can almost like discard the card to gain the exert effect. We're exerting the card rather, not discarding it. Sorry, we're exerting the card to gain the exertion effect here. Whereas with the Delve card, we are using the whole technique and gaining it, gaining the warm-up effect. So that's the other thing to note. With the Delve card, you always gain this effect. On the Clash side, if you use a technique, you only ever resolve this unless you are exerting the card, in which case you don't resolve any of this and you only get this bit. Okay, but we'll get to that bit later. Okay, so we'll pop this over in the appropriate cooldown section, which is there. We will get our token. So this is the opening token, and we'll pop it to the side. And remember to pop that into our night pool, hopefully. All right, so when we look at this card, this newly revealed card, we can see that if we were to move here, we would have to resolve this point of interest. So if you remember, I said that this C means that we resolve a point of interest during the kingdom tile phase. So in this situation, we will resolve a guard statue. And if you look over on your principality, you can't really see it here, probably out of focus, but at a guard statue, we can gain a stone key. And a stone key is exactly what we want for the purposes of the Learn to Play, because that's our objective. So we definitely want to travel here. Right, so we are going to travel to M6 as part of the Learn to Play. When you move onto the tiles that are considered unexplored for any reason, you resolve both sides of the tile starting from its back, just as if it was face down. And that's the reason we have the generic token. So I'm going to remove the generic token. I'm going to flip the card over, and I'm going to pay the cost for traveling here, which is I gain 1 hour's worth of time. I gain 1 threat. And then this icon here, these are the fog icons, which correspond to fog travel. So I guess we could do a little diversion into fog traveling. I'm not sure if it's included in the Learn to Play, but it's probably helpful. So yeah, I'll do that in a second. And then this here is the how many clues I would gain for moving to this particular tile. And let's just resolve the tile first. Actually, let's just do the fog travel now. Okay, so to travel to the fog, so what I would need to do to fog travel to this particular tile is I would need to have this tile be a part of the map that I have explored. It is an unexplored tile that's attached to a tile that I've been to. So this is the unexplored tile, and it's attached to a tile which I have explored. Okay, and then I would need one of these paths. So I'd need to be at a tile where a path had a fog token or a fog path. Let me see if I can find one quickly. Okay, for instance, this tile here, right? You can see that it's got a large 5 to the left, small 13 above, and then it's got a fog travel to the right. And what that means is if I were to take this path to the right, I can then travel to any unexplored tile that is attached to my current map. So if I were to travel to the right here, I could travel to any of these unexplored tiles um, that I currently have. Oh, actually, that's unexplored too. So I could travel here, I could travel here, I could travel here, and I could actually avoid this fog gate, this Panzer gate, and travel here through a fog path. Okay, so that is something that's worth noting. And I'm going to pretend, so this is completely outside the learn to play now, but I'm going to pretend that I'm traveling to the Principality of Stone via a fog, this medium 6 via a fog gate. And what that means is I need to get my fog deck. So I am fogging it to medium 6. Um, so to prepare a fog deck, you need to grab all the cards and then make sure that you have the right kingdom cards in your fog deck. So all of the ones which have deep fog, that's your fog deck. And when you're setting out on an expedition, you want to grab your entire fog deck, and you want to make sure that you only include the ones to the location. You want to include the generic ones as well as all of the ones which correspond to the kingdom that you're traveling in. So in this case, I've got Principality of Stone in here. I'm just checking that I don't have any Sunken Kingdom. So the Sunken Kingdom ones here are at the back. So I'm going to take those out of the deck, pop them on the side, and I'm going to give these a shuffle. Probably overkill. But anyway, so here's my fog deck. And if I were to fog travel to this card, you can see here that these are the number of cards that I need to draw from the fog deck. So on this uh, medium 6 card, I need to draw 5 cards from this fog deck. Oh, also it's worth pointing out that, see, this is what I meant by the district. So that if we're going here to this medium 6, we're going to change districts and we're going into the noble district. So if I had a quest objective which said to get to the noble district, or like, there's this card that or this person has been seen in the noble district, then this is a good indicator. So before I even turn this card, I know that I need to go in this direction. So that's always a helpful thing to know. Anyway, with fog travel, I need to draw 5 cards from the fog deck. to make it here. And over here, if I were to travel to this small 12, I would need to draw 6 cards from the fog deck. And if I were to travel to Hansa Hall and bypass the Panzer Gate, I would need to draw 4 cards from the fog deck. So fog travel is great, but there are some downsides, especially when we're traveling to these smaller cards. And what that basically means, what the number means is, so the number 5 there, I need to draw 5 cards, and in total, so I will draw my first card from the fog deck, and it's a 1, right? And that's basically where I am now. So I'm in the deep fog, I've made it here, and I've reached a 1. I've got a fog value of 1. So to successfully travel, I need a fog value of exactly 4. All of these cards have a 1 or a 0 or a -1 or a 2 or you know, there's all these different kind of numbers. We want to get exactly 4. If we go over 4, we have to resolve a lot of the grave effects that are listed at the bottom of the card. If we are less than 4, we have to resolve the grave effect from 1 card, so not all of them. All right, so let's see how we go. Let's continue to travel. We draw on our second card. So now our total value is at 2. We've drawn our third card. This is looking a little bit dicey. Our third value is a 1, so now we're at 3. And we've drawn a fourth card. Oh, pretty good. That's a 0. It's exactly what we need. And so now we draw a fifth card, and that's a 2. So we've gone over. And what that means, now that we've gone over, is we get to leave the fog. We have successfully traversed the fog, but we haven't done it well. And we would actually have to resolve all of the grave effects at the bottom, which I'm not going to do, but this is an example. I would have to gain +1 threat, +2 threat in total. I'd gain +1 curse. I would have to escalate the start of my next clash, and then I would also have to delay a card from my hand as well. So it's a really bad kind of traversal. The benefit, however, is that we get to choose the clue that we gain. And so this is actually really good for, see, in this situation, if we were to successfully fog travel here, we would gain 1 clue. And because we've traveled by the fog, we get to choose the clue. Every knight gets to choose their clue that they gain. So it's really good for the investigators. Yeah, really good for the investigators, but it came at a cost. So might not have been worth it in the end. Who knows? Again, it depends on your expedition. That's an example of how to fog travel. Also, to finish the fog steps, now that I've finished my fog travel, I have to take out the lowest card in my number. In my fog. I have to take this one out and I have to discard it for the rest of the expedition. And then I grab the other cards, which I have. I grab the other cards and I shuffle it so that it's ready for next time. And so now I have this deck of cards and I have my 0, which I have had to discard. Now I know that this deck, there's a higher chance for me to go over the fog limit of 4 because I've lost a card with the lowest value. So fog traveling once or twice, it's pretty good chances for not going over, but it's to dissuade you from using it and overusing it unless you absolutely need to, because you really don't want to start stacking these. You really don't want to start stacking the effects there at the bottom for going over. Anyway, that's an example of fog traveling. let's do what we're actually supposed to though, and we will travel to the medium 6. Flip it over. We've already paid the threat. We've already paid the hour cost. We'll flip it over. We do have to also gain a clue because of this. So we have to gain a clue. So we're going back into the actual learn to play now. We're actually gaining a clue for traveling this direction. Like that. And is it going to tell us to gain a clue? Oh, oopsie. I completely ignored this bit. So as part of the earlier bird effect of going to the scouts, we also get to negate the clue gain. Sorry, not the clue gain, the threat gain once. And so we actually get to negate this threat, which I've done up here. So we can pop that back down. And now the urchins run away. Okay, and so now we're being told that we gain a clue. So whenever we encounter that symbol on the back of a card, so for instance, that symbol again, this one over here, we will gain a clue from going by going in that direction to that kingdom tile. And because we have left this tile in the middle, we're going west in this direction to get to this tile. We actually gain the corresponding clue based on the exploration card that is at the top of our deck. So because we're traveling in this direction, we gain this clue. So we gain the book. And so everyone with a book gains that clue. There. Oh, and I can flip this one. Flip it to 2. That bit. Now we flip the kingdom tile, we've moved there. And then as part of the kingdom tile step, we resolve the any icons that are on our kingdom tile. So in this situation, we get to resolve this guard statue. And the guard statue gives us a stone key, according to our Principality of Stone map. So we're resolving this point of interest over here, which they have highlighted for us over here. So we get to resolve this gain a stone key. So we would gain that stone key. And then the next step is so worth remembering that it told us to read a certain story passage once we have that stone key. The only thing is we only get to read it once we've made it into the story step. So if you go back to your delve round sequence, you've got the travel step, you've got the kingdom tile step where we resolve all the symbols on the face down, on the back of the card, and then we resolve any encounter monster spawns and movement if there are any, and then we resolve all of the symbols on the front. And then we proceed to the exploration step. So now we're moving into the exploration step. We've gained the stone key, but we're not allowed to read anything until we make it to the story step. So that's why we have to do this exploration step first. Okay, so let's draw the exploration card. It is Panzer Pit. Who knew? So place a single Panzergate token on every unlocked path leading from your current kingdom tile, excluding the path that you came from. All right, so we will place a Panzergate token on every unlocked path. So that one, that one, that one. On every unlocked path, and here again you'll see that there's a gated effect if we were at a curse level of, a threat level of 6 or more, we would also gain 1 curse, but we don't have to resolve that. And then here, you know that this is an instant effect, so it gets played, it gets done straight away, and we get to discard it. All right, so now that we've resolved the exploration step, we get to do the story step. And so here's where we get to actually resolve the effects of gaining that stone key. So inside the old guard post, a tower standing watch over one of the borders between the city's district, the knights find a scene of violence. Something broke into the post, shattering the heavy wooden doors. Claw marks scar the stone walls, while desiccated bodies litter the floor, the remains of the Isengard stationed here. The two knights pick their way through until they find the guard captain's office on an upper floor. Kara approaches the body of the captain, his once shining armor long rusted into uselessness. While she is distracted, Fleischritter kneels next to a large footprint in the dust, a heavy, wide tread. In the mark he finds a spatter of still wet slime, gleaming bright yellow and smelling faintly of meat. Kara, meanwhile, has approached the captain's corpse, finding affixed to his rotted belt a large, heavy key of black iron. The lobe is twisted into the shape of a dragon. Wings spread as it roars ferociously. The Wilders heard tales of the Panzer dragons of Eisenwald, enough to recognize the likeness. This has to be the key they need. Now, to return to the stubborn gate. So, we've got a new objective. Backtrack to S13 to the Panzer Gate and use the stone key to get to L3. When you reach map tile S13 again during the story step, C0003. Return to the delve. Okay, so now our objective has changed. There's no more story steps because we don't have anything else to resolve here. There's no kind of story ciphers or anything like that. So let's proceed to delve round 3. But first, let me grab a drink of water. All right, so we only have one path back because, funnily enough, we got an exploration card which locked every other single path that we could potentially take. So now what we're going to do is we're going to backtrack to S13. So we have to backtrack here. So with backtracking, oh, it's a new, sorry, yeah, completely, probably should read the steps. Because it's the start of a new round, we get to place another generic token over here. So remember again, as part of the Rat Wolves card, place it in the active effect, and then at the start of every round, place a generic token on the next empty direction, going clockwise. If there are 4 tokens on this card, discard it. So unfortunately for us, we only have 3 tokens on the card, but we need to travel back. So we actually need to travel in the direction of one of these tokens. And so that's what it's telling us here. So if we were to backtrack and head back in the direction of this token, what would happen is we would lose X minus, so 4 minus the number of tokens, so everyone would lose 1 vigor, because there's 3 tokens on this card. But luckily for us, the Learn to Play told us to hire the Warrior Mercenary. So with the Warrior Mercenary, if we use it as part of the delve, we get to reduce our vigor loss by up to 3. So that means that 3 people could, in this situation, could not lose any vigor from traveling back in this direction. So we can use the Mercenary's delve ability to reduce one character's vigor loss to 0. Oh, sorry, I stated that wrong, didn't I? So with this one, we can only use it once, so we would reduce one person's vigor loss by up to 3. It's not a cumulative effect. You can't reduce 1 from each person. It's just one person who will reduce up to 3 vigor. So it's telling us let's do that for Kara. And then once you do that, flip it. So and then we will lose 1 health from everyone else. And it's telling us to remember to check Flash Ritter's heat limit. So let's look at his card. So Flash Ritter has gone to 10 health, which means he's now at the minor level. Right, so he started off at 11 health, which meant his heat limit was 3. He's now gone to 10, which means his heat limit is 4. So we then get to move this up 1. So now he's got 4 spots here. Well, you can't really see. He's now got 4 spots here on the heat track. All right, and now this is telling us how to do a backtrack. So since we need to backtrack through each tile individually, first move your party marker to S9 and gain 1 hour. 1 hour. And then move your party marker to S13 and gain 1 threat. S13, 1 threat. So with backtracking, it's got it here. So this is what happens when you backtrack. So you're skipping the kingdom tile step for every tile that you move to, but you can only move through explored kingdom tiles. During a backtrack, you advance the marker by 1, the time marker, and then you gain 1 threat for every kingdom tile that you move through. So we have gained a tile over here. Then here it's telling us that a reminder that you only gain 1 hour of time. So you can move through 10 tiles if you want to. It's only going to cost you 1 hour, but it will cost you 9 threat to move through those 10 tiles. And then this bit here, this is just telling you that during the travel step, you do actually have to move. You're not allowed to just stay in the corner and stay there. You have to move. All right, exploration step. So now we've made it to S13, which is well and good. This is where we want to be. Now we're going to do our exploration step. So we're going to draw the next card in our exploration deck, and it's marching to the silent drum. Perform rotation 1 and scavenge 2. So what rotation 1 means is we're actually going to rotate the monsters. So they're not going to all stay in these locations. They're actually going to move. So we're going to rotate everything once. So that means now in the merchant district, the egg knight is there. Oh, and then scavenge 2. So scavenge 2 goes back to our loot deck. If I can find where I put it. So go back to our loot deck, flip it over. So we revealed all the cards because again, this is not hidden information. And because we've been told to scavenge 2 means we get to choose which 2 cards we can take from this loot deck. From the scavenge deck. So we've got a choice of consumable cards, upgrade cards, or kingdom gear cards. The exhibition clash and the full clash cards, they come into play later when we actually fight monsters. So in this situation, it doesn't really matter what you choose. What tends to happen is I usually choose the ones which are valued the most, just because you end up pretty much getting most of these cards during a normal expedition anyway. So in this situation, I'm going to choose 2 upgrade cards. So I'll pop that over here. This is now the loot that I've gained from my expedition so far. All right, and that's all. I don't have to do any of the gated effects because my threat level is not 6 or higher. So pop that away into our discard pile. All right, and so that's the end of the exploration step, and which means we're now into our story step. So let's read the story. So the place where the knight's progress had been stymied before is once again before them, but is no longer abandoned. Now a hulking figure lumbers through the streets. It might have been mistaken for a man if viewed from a distance, but when the duo draws close, they begin to see the wrong details. A body too large by far, towering as tall as two men, a bloated belly echoing hollowly with the sloshing of something liquid, yet viscous. A large ovoid-shaped helm, with two pinholes through which beady eyes might glare. The strange thing, this egg knight, stalks the streetways looking for prey. The two knights can't risk fighting such a beast, much as they're tempted to. A child's life hangs in the balance, and the duo will do her no good crushed under this giant's boots. So we've come to a choice. We can either choose to not we don't have time to hide and wait. Kara huffs impatiently. We could make a distraction, make a racket to lure it away from the gate and slip through while it's confused. Or we could choose the second one, which is we've stumbled on this thing's favorite hunting grounds, Fleischritter Wands. Best thing to do is to have patience and wait for it to move on. Get wind of something else. Uh, and so yeah, we could choose either one here. So we could create a distraction to lure the egg knight away, or we could stay hidden and wait for the egg knight to leave. In which case, so each of these comes with a kind of bad outcome, where we either gain one curse or we advance time by one. Um, so it doesn't really matter in this situation. We will create a distraction to lure the egg knight away. So we'll gain one threat, and we'll see 0004. The duo scuttle down a side street until they find an old ironworks, its forge split open by some chaotic explosion that spilled a tide of slag, ash, and rubble everywhere. Within the old building, they find a big iron cauldron, turning it over so the Fleischritter can strike its bulbous belly. The clangor rings out, loud enough to wake the dead, certainly enough to garner the Egg Knight's attention. A reverberant snarl echoes through the streets, along with the thunder of heavy steel-clad footsteps. The pair don't stick around to meet the creature, instead circling back to the now unattended gate. So mark LTP1 and C006. So this is just a way for us to mark the various choices. In the actual game, you'd be marking a matrix at the bottom of your night sheet. So let me grab my night sheet from earlier. So in this situation, you'd be marking one of these boxes down here. Well, not in this situation, in a real kind of expedition, if you're presented with a choice, you'd mark one of these choices down there. But you know what I'm going to do? I think we should have an encounter with the Egg Knight. Yeah, I think we should have an encounter with the Egg Knight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy over there. I am going to, okay, so this is a deviation from the learn to play. We are going to go have an encounter with the Egg Knight. So you've got these cards here. So these are encounter cards. The Egg Knight card is what we're going to be fighting against in the encounter. So the learn to play unfortunately doesn't have an encounter as part of it. So I'm going to grab my encounter board. My encounter board is technically not an actual board. It is a mat that I've printed I've had printed at one of my local office supply stores, and they printed it for me on this kind of thin canvas material, just because I don't like using the board with how it folds. Like, I really wish it folded properly, but this works just as well, if not better. And so to set up for an encounter, I need to grab my dice tray. Let me get rid of this. So I've got my dice tray here. I've got my encounter card here. So I'm facing the level 1 Egg Knight, and he's a vassal. And then at the bottom of this card, it's telling me to use the big encounter board as dictated by his him being a vassal at the top. So we're using the encounter board with the 2 end rows over here. So these 2 end rows, we're not using those because you can see there for the king and devil tiers respectively. So we're not going to be using those. We're only going to be using the vassal board. You'll see over here that if we were to face the rat wolves, we'd be using the mob encounter board, which is a little bit different here. Like, you can see that with the mob encounter board, the 2 corners are grayed out, and that is because on the mob side, the 2 corners are grayed out. Okay, so let's go back to the vassal. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to work for us, but let's give it a go. So we've got the Egg Knight. We can see that he is a vassal. We've got our 2 hit values, so this kind of doesn't really make any much sense at the moment, but I'll try and go through it for you. So we're going to say that this was an encounter that we chose to do, in which case the vassal, so with encounters, there's 2 ways they work. So you can either have an encounter token move onto your space, or you can move onto an encounter token space, and then it's just a regular encounter. If for whatever reason you are ambushed, then that becomes a different type of an encounter. So it becomes an ambush encounter as opposed to just a regular encounter. So with a regular encounter, what happens is the monsters are placed on this board before the knights are. So let me grab my 2 dice. So to place a vassal on this board, we need to grab 2 power die, so 2 of the red power die, and give them a roll. Okay, so we will roll these. We have, you know what, I'm going to manipulate the roll so that we get this instead. So you can see my roll here is 1 hope symbol and 1 sword. Okay, and to place a vassal, we have to match up both of these symbols. So we got to grab our mini. So here's I'm learning to paint. So this is my little Egg Knight that I painted. None of the other minis are painted yet, but I'll get there one day, slowly but surely. So we have to match 2 of the spaces with the 4 spaces that he takes up. Okay, so we've got to find a square where we match a sword symbol as well as a hope symbol. The only thing is, if you note the map, there's no hope symbols here at all. What that means is that we're actually trying to mash it up with the blank symbols instead, right? So if you ever roll a hope symbol, the rulebook will tell you to consider this side of the symbol, side of the die as a blank, and that means you have to line it up with a blank space on the encounter board. So in this situation, to match up the sword and the hope symbol, we could put Egg Knight here because he's got a sword here and an empty symbol there. We could put the Egg Knight here because he has a sword and an empty symbol. We could even orientate him like this if we really wanted to, or like this, or like this, or even this way. We could do the same thing up here, but as part of the rules, we have to orientate him so that he has the highest possible chance of hitting the most squares. So what does that mean? We refer back to our card. So when the Egg Knight is on the encounter board, he will attack 3 squares on the front of him, on his right front, and 3 squares on his right back. And each of those squares will lose 1 vigor. So if I were to place the Egg Knight here, he is going to be attacking these squares. He's going to be attacking these squares, and there's no squares behind. If I were to place him this way, he's attacking 1 square and 1 square behind. If I were to place him this way, he's attacking these 2. And then over here, if I were to place him forward, he's attacking these 2, and no squares behind. If I were to place him this way, he's attacking these 2 squares, this way, and that way, this way, this one, and that one. So, oh, sorry, this one and that one. So in this situation, all of these placements are technically equally valid. So I could place him in any of these orientations that I want to. I could place him this way because he's attacking 2 squares no matter what. I could place him this way, he's attacking 2 squares no matter what. This way, 2 squares no matter what. This way, again, 2 squares. And even if I put him over here, he's always going to be attacking 2 squares. So these encounters are like mini puzzles, basically. What I am going to do, I think, is probably place him in this direction because when I roll to place my knights, I think, yeah, there's 1 cup on these dice, and there's 1 hope. Whereas there's 1 sword, and there's 2 of the sword and cups. So I have a higher chance of rolling a sword and a cup, which means I can technically attack from there. Not really many places to attack from. Yeah, so let's just do this anyway. Yeah, let's do this. And now I'm going to roll to place the knights. So I'll start with Kara. So she's got 2 swords. So she can stand on a location with 2 swords. Let's pop her. Oh, actually, sorry. Yeah, so let's pop her here. Like that. Now I am rolling for Flash Ritter. So it's a sword and a cup. So let's place him here. And now I'm rolling for Bianca. Sword and a cup. She can't really attack from anywhere, so let's place her there. And now I'm rolling for Ralof. Sword and a cup 2. Okay, let's place Ralof there. Okay, and so with an encounter, what happens is after you placed everyone, the monster will always go first. So anyone in his line of fire will lose 1 vigor. In this situation, he's only attacking here, and no one is there, so no one's going to lose any health. Which means it's now our turn, the knight's turn. And to succeed in this encounter, we need to get 3 successes, so 3 scrapes. And basically what that means is I need to attack and hit him and get through his armor threshold 3 times in order to have a full success. If I were to only do it 1 or 2 times, I would have a, oh sorry, you can't read this. So I need to get 3 plus for a full success, 1 to 2 for a partial success, or 0 for a failure. So what we need to do to actually hit him is we need to roll our dice. So at the moment everyone is equipped with some knives. So with the knives, this is kind of going into the clash details, but we'll do it now. So with the knives, we've got access to 1 dice, one of these guys, which we will roll to see if we can hit him. If we successfully hit him, we will then roll 1 of these power dice, or 1 of these power dice for every successful hit. Okay. The thing is, we've got these knives, and this little symbol down here means we can dual hand the knives, so we can 2-hand the knife. In which case we get an extra die to roll. So as part of this roll, we can actually roll 2 dice. And for every hit, so every time we roll this dice and we get over 6, we then get 1 power die for every one that we roll over 6. Okay, so let's do that now. I am going to play as Kara. So we're going to roll our 2 dice. She's 2-handing the knives. And we got an 8 and a 9. Best I've ever rolled. So we get 2 hits, which means we get 2 red die to roll. And then also don't forget this symbol here on the knight portrait, which is a red die here. So Kara, she automatically gets 1 red die to roll as well, as part of her hit. So if I was only successful in 1 hit, then I would roll 1 power die for her knight portrait, as well as 1 power die for being hit. But in this situation, I got 2 hits, which means I get to add a 3rd to this. And so now what I need to do is now I need to get to 3, and I need to beat his armor threshold of 3. So it's an AT value of 3. And to do that, I need to get 3 of these sword icons, right? So if we look at a power die, this power die, we've got a sword, we've got a cup, and we've got the hope symbol. So those are the different symbols. Each sword is a successful power value. Each hope is nothing unless we have something that says otherwise. And each cup is a potential to turn into a power symbol. Now, I was a bit of an idiot. What I should have done is I should have used the squires, and they could have helped me in this role. So I'll use that next time for Fleischritter, and just hopefully we roll 3 power symbols. And we haven't. Okay, so what I have rolled is, oh God, I really regret what I did. Okay, so what I have rolled is I've rolled 2 swords, a hope, and 2 cup symbols. Yeah. Which means I don't have enough power. I don't have enough power to actually scrape, deal a scrape to the Egg Knight. So Kara's turn has practically been wasted. Okay, so what I should have done is I should have used these guys. So these guys, the squires, are too far away to actually hit Ignite, but what they can do is they can help. And so as part of a help action, I get to convert these symbols into into tokens, which will help me in the encounter. So Ralof is going to help Fleischritter. So he's going to help him. He's going to change. What is it? I don't remember which one's which, but actually, let me grab the rule book out. It's probably worthwhile. Okay, so the help action. To use the help action, check the symbol on your knight space and place one opening token for each sword symbol and one break token for each cup. Oh, that's obvious. I should have known that. Okay, so Ralof is on a square with a sword and one cup. So we get to place one opening token, one break token. Oh, also, sorry, I completely skipped some steps. So with Kara, every time you go to make an attack, you're supposed to increase your passion. So what should have happened is she has made an attack, so she would increase her passion to 2. She failed on that attack, but that doesn't mean she hasn't done anything for us later on. What she has done is she has left behind some tokens. Sorry, give me one second. Sorry, I had to grab some water. So what was I saying? Yes, so Kara, as part of her attack, she should have increased her passion. And if we look at her passion card over here, her heroic card, we can see that at 1 passion, she gets 1. She can leave behind 1 break token, or she can leave behind 1 opening token and move 1. Reposition 1, sorry. But at passion 2, she actually gets to reroll her power die. So let's pretend we're still in her turn, and this is what she rolled. So we actually get to reroll a power die. So I could try and reroll one of these cups in the hope that I get an extra power. So let's do that. And I do. So that means that I have successfully gotten 3 power, which is equal to his value here, his AT value, which means I successfully scrape him. So we grab a scrape token. We grab a scrape token, this little guy. We'll place it over here somewhere so we remember that we've scraped him once successfully. And we'll continue with Ralof's turn. So Ralof has placed a break and an opening as part of his help action. And Bianca here, she also can't reach the Egg Knight, so she's going to do the same thing. She's going to place a break and an opening. So a break and an opening. Oh, also completely forgot again. As part of your heroic arc, you can, Kara can do every level that she has unlocked. So in this situation, she's at Passion 2, so she's unlocked level 1 and 2. So she can leave behind a token for use in the as part of the second ability window. So she can leave behind a break token or an opening token. Which doesn't really matter at the moment because we're not going to be using it later on. So we'll just leave that. But she can have left it behind if she wanted to. And so now we're going to do a 2-handed attack with our knives from Fleischritter. So we'll roll this. And an 8 and a 6. Okay, so this is good. An 8. So the thing to note here, which we'll go into more detail in the clash phase, but these two opening tokens means it increases the value of our to hit dice by 2. So we've actually rolled a 10 here with this one, and we've rolled an 8 here with this guy. So yeah, we've successfully hit him with our die, which means we get to roll all 3 of these guys again. And look at me, I forgot to increase his passion. So increase the passion over there, and we're going to aim for a 3. And we have gotten 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 power dice. 4 power on this, but we've also got 2 cups. So you've got a cup there and a cup here. So that means we can use our break tokens that we had left for us kindly by our squires, and we can convert this into power. So that technically means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one break token converts 1 cup into 1 power. So that's the 5th one. And then another break token converts that cup into another power. So that's the 6th one. So we've got a total power of 6. Which is overkill for the Egg Knight. So that means he gets scraped twice, right? Unfortunately for us, our squires are too far away. They can't do anything. So we can't really do anything there. But you'll note here that we have partially succeeded by getting 2 scrapes. So 1 to 2 scrapes, partial success. One knight exhausts 1 gear card. Lucky for us, we don't have any gear cards to exhaust, and may refresh 1. So we didn't get a full great outcome, but we still got a half great outcome, I guess you could say. So let me just also give you an example of what would happen if a squire were to hit. So let's say Bianca was closer. We would grab our metal deck over here. We would draw the first metal card, and we would compare her roll. So she's got a roll of 8, and we would compare that to the 2 hit value of 6. And so she has successfully hit Egg Knight. Pop that card into the discard. And then now we're going to draw for her power value. So we'll draw another card, and she has gotten a power of 4. So that's 4 straight power. If we had a break token, she could convert a break token into power, so she could have 5 power in total. Down here we can see the extra things that we could do if we had any clues to spend. So if Bianca had a blue clue, she could spend a blue clue to gain 1 power, so she could increase that 4 to a 5 by spending a blue clue. So that means she would have had to have been using the blue clue. Sorry, not using. She would have had to have been gaining the blue clues. In which case, if she had one, she could discard it and gain that extra power. If we look at our earlier card, so if we had rolled a 5, for instance, what Bianca could have done is she could have spent her book clue to gain an extra opening. So she could have then, if this was a 5, she could have then made it to 6 at the cost of one of her clues. Okay. Anyway, so that is how you do an encounter. And yeah, please forgive the missed rules and everything, but yeah, worked out. Pop these guys away. Okay. So once you get the hang of the game, these encounters become super quick. I did take a little bit longer trying to explain everything, but hopefully that's the gist of it. I hope you understand about it. So the other thing to note is that with an ambush, the other type of an encounter that you can have with an ambush, the monsters actually get placed after the knights. So you don't get a choice of where you can put people. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. So if this was an ambush by the Egg Knight, I'm rolling for Kara. So Kara, I need to place her on one of the empty symbols. So let's say I place her there. Flash Ritter has got one sword, so let's say I place him there. Bianca is a cup, so she will place there. And Ralof is also a cup. So he gets placed like there, for instance. That's a bit silly, but let's do that. And then now let's roll for Egg Knight. So he's got 2 cups. So the Egg Knight actually needs to go here. There's a cup there, there's a cup there. There's no other spot available. Yeah, there's no other spots available. So this would have been a very bad outcome because the Egg Knight would have had to have gone on top of them, which means they suffer damage and they're no longer on the board. And then he's placed in such a way where he needs to attack as many people available on the board as possible. And in this case, Kara would have gotten attacked, so she'd be -3 health. And then Kara is the only person who can attack him back, so there's a potential there that we would quite possibly have failed this encounter if we were ambushed. So we would, one random knight suffers cooldown in addition to losing the health. So that's how you would do an ambush. Luckily, we don't have to actually do that. Shuffle this again quickly. Get rid of this guy. Rid of that. All right, so where were we? I believe we were just about to read the story. Let's pull that back up. Okay, so we're told to mark LTP1 and then C006. The key grinds into place with a heavy clunk. Kara flings all her weight behind it, and it slowly turns in the lock, the shriek of metal sliding against the metal ear rending. Oh, the shriek sliding against metal ear rending. There's another thud from within, and the sound of gear mechanisms turning until finally the entire gate shudders and begins to sink into a recess in the ground. The way is open, and ahead the imposing silhouette of the Hansa Hall awaits. So your objective: travel to map tile L3. When you do, read the story step 0007 and return to the Dell phase. So now we have opened the gate. So we've opened the gate, we've used our key, those can go away. So delve around 4. Since you have a stone key, you can now pass through the Panzer Gate and complete your initial objective. So I've already done that, I'll pop that over there. Move to L3. To use the stone key, simply discard the token and the Panzer Gate token. Since L3 is the large tile, there's a lot happening here. So let's remember that we have to travel, so we got to pay the cost of traveling. We have to pay the 1 time. We have to pay the to gain 2 threat. So 1, 2. So the narrow 4 threat. If we were to folk travel, we'd only need to draw 4 cards, but we're traveling normally. And then we also gain 2 clues. So the way that we gain 2 clues is we gain the clue from the direction we have traveled. So we've traveled south, which means we would look to our exploration card. We would gain another book. So We're going to book over here. Going to book over there. And then we would, the second clue that we gain is random. So again, to draw a random direction, we would get our minor mortis deck and we would draw the first card and then look at the arrow. But the LTP, the Learn to Play, has already done that for us and it's told us we're getting the north card, the northern clue. So we're getting the clue as if we had arrived from that direction. We'd moved north in that direction. So everyone who gets a sword clue, oops, that's that one, it's that one there. Okay, next we will move to this location and we have to draw an exploration card. No, sorry, no we don't. We have to resolve the point of interest. So we've got a symbol here, the C. I don't know if it's a C, but that's what I've always called it in my head. It's the first time it's actually slipped out. So that's the point of interest symbol. And then to do that, we need to, you can see here that the point of interest is a 1, but that is just a number. So we add, we grab the next exploration card, and you can see here it's got a +1. So it actually becomes 1 + 1. So this is the next exploration card. This is the one I was about to draw. So that becomes a 2, right? And so on our kingdom sheet, 2 is an overlooked alleyway. Every knight gains a chosen clue. So every knight on this expedition gains a clue of their choice. So let's just flip that guy. Let's gain a book over there. Bianca needs a green one. She doesn't have any of those, so let's give her one of those. And Ralof doesn't have any blue ones, so let's give her blue. I'll give him a blue rather. All right, so next we flip the tile, place a marker on it. We've resolved an overlooked alleyway. And then we're going to proceed to the exploration step. We've already drawn the exploration card, which is the Panzergate. Place a single Panzergate token on a random unlocked path leading from your current kingdom tile, excluding the path that you came from. If we're in the noble district, which we aren't, so we ignore the rest, and our curse is, our threat is still below the threshold there, so we don't have to resolve that. So we need to now resolve this by placing a Panzergate on a random unlocked path leading from the current kingdom tile, excluding the one that we've come from. So with this, we don't actually have to do anything because the only unlocked, we do have to do something. So let's place the rest of the tiles. It would help if I did that. 14, 15, and 10. Okay, so we need to place a Panzergate in a random unlocked direction except for the one we've come from. So to do that, we draw the first card on our minor mortis, which is north. And we can't put a token on the one that is north because that's the one we have come from. And so the rules then say that if you can't do it on the one that you've on the direction which it has chosen from the minor mortis draw, you then proceed in a clockwise manner. So we actually have to place this over here. as that is the next valid path in a clockwise direction. And that's what it's kind of telling us down here. All right, so the story step. The immense oaken doors of the former trading hall clatter open, their hinges groaning as rust fights back against the strength of the flash ritter. The two knights stride in, catching the attention of the hall's occupants. In the center of the large vaulted chamber, a dais of sorts has been raised, built from rubble. A large, flat slab has been laid atop it, upon which the kidnapped child lies bound. Around her, a circle of red-robed cultists chant in an ancient Antiochian dialect. One, clutching a heavy-bound tome in his hands, glares with narrowed, red-pupilled eyes. Intruders, you will not interrupt the sacrament. A cultist lunges for the knight's saw-edged dagger, flailing wildly. The flash ritter is the one to bear the brunt of the attack, fighting back with his bare hands. Flash ritter performs a test of fortitude, 10 plus. If LTP2 is marked, add 2 to your result. You may gain 1 heat to re-roll the die once. Okay, so this goes back to the virtues that we should have written down on a night sheet at the very beginning of this, and I told everyone not to do it, and now I've completely forgotten what it was. So let's go back to the beginning of this. And so Flash Ritter. Flash Ritter has 1 bravery, 1 might, and 2 fortitude. Okay. So Flash Ritter is performing a test of fortitude 10 plus. So he already has 2, which means that that 2 gets added to whatever we roll. So technically, we just need to roll an 8 or more. And then if we had chosen the LTP2 option, we would be adding to this roll. So it would have been really good if we had done that. But, oh, it's telling me how to do it here. So virtue test flash ritter's bonus is a +2. So that's telling me I didn't have to scroll back all the way to the beginning. It already told me. He can also use his delve technique, Knight Prowess. It's on the other side of the Knight pose card. So this guy here. So he can use this when I am about to perform a virtue test or an adventure roll, add 2 to the result. So it costs 2 heat to use though. So it's quite a strong card to use. Or not a strong card, it's quite a costly card to use. But you know, I probably need to use it here. So, and I think that's what it's telling us to do. So let's do that now. Remember to add the warm-up bonus. So we're going to add 2 heat there. We are going to add 2 to our result. We're also going to place it in the cooldown there. And we are going to make the roll. So we're going to use our white die. And I got a 6. Okay, 6 is perfect. 6 is exactly what I needed because we get his +2 bonus from Fortitude as well as the +2 from the Knight Prowess. So we've gotten 10. If I had rolled anything less than 6, so if I'd rolled a 4, I could re-roll this dice once by using heat. So I can increase my heat 1 more to get another chance to roll the dice, but I don't need to do that. Success. The cultist is small and weak. For a warrior of the flash ritter's stature, overpowering him is easy. The butcher knight throws him back, and the cultist stumbles, cracking his skull on the stone floor. Place a break token in the night pool. Oh, and that's also something I forgot to do. It's a break token. So I'm placing a break token up here, and then also as part of this, I get to do the warm-up token as well. So let me change this opening token into 2 opening tokens. Okay. D8. In the middle of the chamber, the other cultists have turned from the dice, and their ritual chant takes on a new tone, a more commanding one, a summon to arms. All around the chamber, you hear the rattle of iron against iron. Dozens of corpses, until now lying in the dark corners in silence, jolt to life, skeletons grasping swords, rising like puppets on strings. For a moment, Kara thinks that she can see the strings, blood-red strands that flow from the skeletal marionettes to the cultists. With a clatter of bone and the clang of iron, the Ironcast dead rise to answer the summons and move in against the knights. Place a permanent negative AT token on the monster sheet at the start of the next clash. Then proceed to an exhibition clash against the Ironcast dead. If you win, C0009. If you win, C010. Okay, so now we go to our exhibition clash.